All right, so everyone's talking about Hangman candle this and Hangman candle that. So I want to break down not only the Hangman candle but everything else that's going on in the market, because the market is a lot more than just one singular fucking close. Okay, so I want to break down everything, starting with, of course, Spy. So yes, Spy does have a Hangman candle now, although I would prefer it to be a little higher. Like this kind of candle. So when it comes to candles, right, there's only two candles that really are meaningful. And number one, like like you should never ever ever trade off one singular candle, ever. But there are certain candles at certain spots in the market that are much more meaningful than the rest. Okay, for example, the number one best candle to ever get, right? The best candle to get is this one right here. You see this massive red candle? You see how we sold off, and then we had an open to close red candle. Right, you see how we marked the bottom. You see how here, open to close red candle, mark the bottom, and we went higher. Mark the bottom, we went higher. Mark the bottom right here, we went higher. You see, one, two, three. All of them marked the bottom, we went higher. Here, for example, right, open to close, massive green candle, bunch of dojis inside, and we went higher. Mark the bottom. Um, you go back here, right? Open to close, red candle at a top, out of resistance with bearish divergences. Mark the top, we sold off. Over here, back on the stock market bottom, open to close, green candle on bad news, on the high, on the bad CPI news. After a 20% drawdown at the 0.5 minute, like these things matter. Those are the best candles, right? Those are the best single candles you could get, or open to close red candles or open to close green candles at support, at resistance with a bunch of other indicators. The best. The second best one would be what we got today, just the positioning is a little off. Now, a hangman candle like this, I would prefer to get it at the peak, right? If we got it yesterday, or if we made a new all-time high today, those are good. Those are quite bearish. For example, we had one right here, right? Nice little hangman candle. And then we, marked the top and we sold off quite a bit. You usually also get them at bottoms. For example, I don't have one on the top of my head, but you get them at bottoms and tops honestly quite frequently. Can't really find one right now off the top of my head. I apologize. But anyways, now look, a hangman candle you see at tops. Yes, a hangman candle you see at tops, and the opposite, an inverse one, an upside down one at bottoms, and it usually marks reversals. The only problem is you need continuation, right? Because you can't just sit here and say, "Oh my God, hangman candle, that's fucking bearish." It doesn't work like that, because context matters. And right now, the context, and again, I am bearish overall. Like I do think we're topping, but overall, the context does matter, because here the context is what? Here the context is we lost the 20 MA. We went up, we reclaimed the 20 MA, we went back down, we retested the 20 MA, we retested the 50 MA, we bought up and we closed above not only the 2 MAs, but the support zone. So technically, this is a bullish retest, right? So even though it's a hangman candle, we went down, we hit the MAs. Instead of closing below the MAs, which makes it bearish, we bounced and bought off the MAs, which is technically bullish, right? So you could sit here and scream hangman candle, but it really means nothing until you lose a 20 MA. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, we could pull back off of this, because again, today's sell off, where it happened is key. SPY sold off 1.7% after retesting this trend line, right? We broke it, we never really retested it. You see this one, two, three, four, five touches, we broke it. We never retested it, and then once we retested it, marked the local top, had a nice little drawdown. Now, for this to become bearish, it's quite simple. It's very simple. You see this nice little blue zone I drew, 690 to 692. If we lose that level and close below it, then it becomes bad, because then what happens? You lost the 20 MA, becomes resistance, and you could continue to go lower. And if we do go lower, I mean, we've bounced so many times at this level right here, I doubt it's going to hold this time, okay? So there's that. Now, when you go and you look at, because right now we're above support. Now, when you go and you look at other things, for example, we go and we look at IWM. For example, we're going to go look at the futures. You go and you look at IWM, and I posted this earlier today. It has a head and shoulders. Okay, you can see the massive left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder, and you can see we went up, we retested the break, and it rejected. So it went up to reclaim it, rejected. So this is good. This is in play for now, but it has to play out. Like we have to start selling off now, otherwise it'll become invalidated. So while this is happening, we also have IWM with a bearish pattern at its first price discovery fib, right? So, for example, I'm gonna actually pull up this right here. I think yes. We're just gonna use this so we could quickly go over it. For example, right now, while it has its head and shoulders, you can see where this beautiful trend line on IWM: one touch, two touch, three touch, four touch, resistance, resistance, with the head and shoulders at a pretty good looking Fibonacci. You can see that right there, right? The first price discovery shape. You see how it's like a false little breakout. It's rejecting for now. That's something you gotta keep your eye on. Now, on other news, Bitcoin, right? People are actually ignoring Bitcoin here. Bitcoin is breaking down. When you zoom in on Bitcoin, Bitcoin had a bear flag, all right, and it broke down. Not only did Bitcoin break down, it went up to retest the breakdown, and instead of reclaiming it heading higher, it actually rejected, which is quite bearish. And now you can see the continuation sell-off. Now, although I want this to happen, I would have preferred for us to go a little higher, take our time, and then sell off, because that I would be more convinced that we're going to get a much more steeper decline. Now, another thing you have to be careful for is this. When have you ever seen Bitcoin disconnect from the market like this? The only times Bitcoin has ever disconnected from the market like this is at tops. It's at cycle tops. And then what happens right after is the stock market follows immediately right after. So if I were to just erase everything, go on the weekly chart, overlay SPY, okay? We're going to go back to the last time we had a cycle top. You see that Bitcoin topped weeks before SPY did, and Bitcoin actually started breaking down weeks before the stock market did. And then you go back to the cycle prior to that, and same thing. You're going to realize that Bitcoin cycle topped weeks before the stock market ended up having a nice little decline. I think it was 15%. Market went higher. Bitcoin didn't follow. 20% correction, right? And then another thing is, you have to remember, like, when have you ever seen Bitcoin do nothing, go sideways for a year and a half in a bearish manner? At tops, Bitcoin does not go sideways for a year and a half for no reason. It's topping. Just like how Bitcoin at the bottom went nowhere for a year and a half because it was bottoming. Top, bottom, literally, if I were to just, it's the exact same thing. If I were to just copy and paste this little portion here, flip it and put it up here, it's the same thing. And now this is a bear flag that's breaking down. Now, again, I tell you, when have you ever seen a disconnect from Bitcoin to the markets like this? Don't forget, Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. Risk-on assets sell first. They top and they sell first, and then the markets follow. That's what's been happening for years now. Is this time different? Are you willing to bet that this time is different? Or are you gonna bet on the trend? So again, this is a bearish sign. Another thing to look forward to is Tesla. Tesla, I know it's gapping up after hours, but if we were to just ignore the after hours gap up, Tesla actually technically broke down. Now, don't get me wrong, it's only one close. It could very well reclaim it tomorrow, but as it stands right now, it broke down. Not only did it break down, same thing as Bitcoin, it hasn't gone anywhere. Right? And again, this isn't how Bitcoin has continuation. Sorry, this isn't how Tesla has continuation. Tesla doesn't go up, pull back, go up, do nothing, and then go up. Like, it doesn't do that. This is more of like a topping pattern. If it was pulling back in a bull flag or in a pennant or something like that, I totally understand. But this, it's not really, it's none of those. It's almost like a head and shoulders. It's almost like a topping, a white cough, for example, pattern, right? You have a high, a higher high at the 500 resistance. This is a bearish pattern. Now, if we were to go over and look at a few other things, for example, Microsoft has been selling off for months now, even though the stock market hasn't been selling off for months and sitting at all-time highs. But we've seen this right over here. For example, Microsoft was selling for months before the stock market sold off. The stock market went higher for 6 months while Microsoft went lower for 6 months. The exact same thing is happening right now, where Microsoft has been going lower for 6 months while SPY has been going higher for 6 months. And then, of course, this massive gap behind. Listen, if this was a fucking penny stock, I wouldn't care about the gaps, because not all gaps get filled. But a gap this large of 10% on a Microsoft, on a $4 trillion stock, on a monthly candle, if this wasn't on the monthly candle, if this was just on the daily candle, it's one thing. But we've never seen a multi-trillion-dollar company leave a huge monthly gap open without filling it before. Ever! I think it fills it, and I've been saying this for months. It's going to fill that fucking gap. Now, another thing. Apple, not much to say on Apple. I mean, Apple's at resistance. It has, I think it already had earnings. We'll see what comes from it. Now, it's at resistance. If it ends up rejecting and takes out this low here, that's when things really pick up because then you have a head and shoulders pattern. But until then, it's a little too premature to say. But as it stands right now, it's at resistance. You know, it could reclaim certain levels, but we'll see what happens. Google. You can see Google's price action is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and it does have a hangman candle. I do expect Google to have a pullback, and I'm not talking about 10% pullback. I'm talking about 20, 30 plus percent pullback. Again, what do you have? You have a high, a higher high, a higher high, all in the same realm, while the weekly candle. Look at the weekly candle. Look how weaker it's getting. Look at all those wicks, right? You go from strong bullish candles to then just rejection and then rejection and rejection. And if we sell off tomorrow, another massive rejection here, that's not good. Massive bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, that's not good. Monthly, assuming that we close here or lower, monthly bearish divergence at an 81 reading, that doesn't usually last either. Bearish daily divergence, even though they haven't been playing out, it's gonna play out sooner or later. This isn't good, right? Again, this also looks like it wants to pull back. Whether it's a healthy pullback or not, it's gonna pull back. It's due for a pullback, so that's not gonna also help the market's case here. Nvidia still has the head and shoulders in play. Right, it hasn't broken out. If this goes beyond 200, it does invalidate the head and shoulders. But as it stands now, it has a head and shoulders. And speaking about head and shoulders, PLTR, all right, look where it's at. It's getting closer and closer and closer to the head and shoulders breakdown. HUD, it already technically broke down, right? Got to be careful. For example, what else do we got? Meta filling the gap. Netflix is at support. Not much more to cover when it comes to that. SMH, nice little hangman candle at resistance, right above the price discovery fib. I also expect semis to slow down. And not only that, but VIX. Brother, when have you ever seen VIX hold up? Not only hold up, but rally with the goddamn stock. I've only seen that happen right before corrections or drawdowns, right? When has VIX gone up for multiple weeks with the stock market? Right before drawdowns. So again, when the market's dumping and I turn bullish, people hate me. Then when the market is topping, or at least it's about to top and start rolling over, people hate me also, right? Because again, I have no bias. I'm just giving it how I see it. I may be wrong, I may be right, but I put my money where my mouth is. So we'll see who's going to end up being right. And right now, market still hasn't gone anywhere. And as I said, before the market even started topping, I always said, once the market starts going nowhere, that's when you got to be careful. When Bitcoin starts dropping without the market, you got to be careful. When Bitcoin and Tesla starts disconnecting from the market, you got to be careful. Got to be careful here. But again, some of us will make a lot of money here, some of us won't. But again, I do expect a beautiful opportunity coming in the future. We're already seeing all these things I'm saying now. I talked about this months ago, weeks ago, and now they're slowly happening now. And the only thing that's missing is a drawdown, which again, it's coming, and the DXY is also reversing beautifully. If we could just get back above 100, this is a low. Yeah, this also looks like it's bottoming. That's perfect. Honestly, I have no problem with that as long as this candle could reverse here. But yeah, and all in all, things are looking good. For the silver lovers, I don't really like heavy metals, but it's also at a key level. When you look at silver here, now to just draw one simple Fibonacci, you're going to just erase everything, go to the weekly chart, draw your Fibonacci from this singular high here to this low here. You're going to realize we're at actually a key level. If I were to just turn this on with the fibs on, boom, there you go, right? We just hit the 1.6, right? The 1.6 at 123, I think we top somewhere here. We hit exactly the 1.6. I do think we're going to probably slow down. Right now, you also have a head and shoulders forming, assuming that we take out this low here. This will also play out. And I know there's a 2x silver. It went crazy today. If you actually look at the 2x silver, yeah, from open to close, it had a crazy 30% day, right? And then if that head and shoulders plays out, it's going to have another, oh my God, that actually looks pretty good. Look at this. I love when this happens. You can see beautiful candle. And then inside a bunch of dojis. These tend to reverse higher. But with that being said, if you go and you look at silver, if silver goes any lower, this is actually going to double down and head even lower, which would give you another 10% move lower, which is 20% on silver 2x, right? So that's another thing I'd be watching. If you have any questions or anything, please just let me know. And as we speak right now, futures is kind of selling off a little bit. I actually kind of, I mean, wait, hold on a second. Silver actually looks pretty good here. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, actually, let me see if I could do something real quick.